Okay, welcome back. We have the second talk for this session. We have Daniele from Italy. Is a front-end web developer who is gonna offer an overview about the combination of linked data with OSM. Yeah, really happy to hear what you're gonna say to us. Thank you. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. So this talk will be centered around linked data. Let's start by talking about what is linked data. It is a set of best practices that has been standardized to allow a set of best practices that has been standardized to allow publishing machine readable data on the web in the same way that we are used to read documents. So interlinking them, allowing a single document to reference another document that doesn't necessarily reside on the same server. This is done through a series of principles. The first one is to use some univocal and uniform identifier for each entity, so for each thing that is represented by the data, and specifically to use HTTP URIs, which are extremely similar to URLs, but are meant to identify an object, an entity, not necessarily a page. Since we use HTTP URIs, we are able to look up these URIs, a bit like we can look up an URL. And when we look up them, they are supposed to return the data that describes the entity that is identified by that URI in a specific format that is called RDF. This format is able to link to other data points, to other entities through their HTTP URIs, even if they are not part of the same dataset, even if they are part of another dataset that resides on another server. Now, we don't have time to talk about how RDF works, but if you are interested in this topic, you can find these slides on the pre-talks page of this talk, and there are 3 slides that talk about how RDF works. What is important for this talk is the fact that this structure of interconnectedness between entities of different datasets allows us to do something that is not possible with normal datasets. Run queries on multiple datasets and automatically, without any need of manual interaction, merge, join this information and return them in the way we expect. By this I mean, usually if you need to reference some information in a certain dataset from another dataset, you have to use some ID. But the fact that you are using this ID, like numeric ID, implies that the end user, which is using the 2 datasets, needs to have additional information on how to interpret this ID in the context of the other dataset. Inside linked data, instead, every URI identifies universally and univocally some entity, regardless of where it's located. This allows us to run queries which, without the need of us doing the joining, automatically join the data and return them in the way we are asking. This set of standards has been used to create thousands of datasets that describe billions of entities, and created by the most disparate type of entities, like from governments, from academia, from private entities, etc. Let's look at the most relevant for the OpenStreetMap world. First off, there is a linked data source that we created ourselves. It's the data items OSM wiki. In fact, this linked data source exposes details about the tags that are used on OpenStreetMap in a machine readable way, and specifying information that applications might find useful when interacting with tags, and using HTTP URIs to external data sources to link the tags to what they represent in other sources. So let's, for example, say we need to we have the tag building school which represents a school building, and we have in a third party linked data source the concept of school building. We can use this HTTP URI of this resource to link it from the data item. You can access these items from the OSM wiki when looking at a tag by clicking on that item on the menu on the bottom left. But if we talk about linked data and OpenStreetMap, most people surely will think first about Wikidata. It is the most referenced linked data source from OpenStreetMap. It is a open data chronology graph, which is part of the Wikimedia family of projects. It acts both as a repository for information and the sources for that information, but also as a hub for the Wikimedia projects. For example, linking together Wikipedia pages in different languages about the same entity. Entities on Wikidata are identified by URI, which ends with ID, which starts with uppercase Q and is followed by some numbers. That part is often called the QID and is used in OpenStreetMap for referencing entities. Specifically, there are multiple ways to reference Wikidata on OpenStreetMap. The main one is the so-called primary links, which through the tag Wikidata allow the editor, the person which is tagging, to specify that a certain OpenStreetMap element represents the exact same entity that is represented by the Wikidata item that we are referencing. It is also possible to link to Wikidata through the so-called secondary links, which use Wikidata to describe some specific aspect of the OpenStreetMap element. For example, let's say we wanted to specify which is the brand of a certain shop. We can do it through the brand tag and specify it by plain text. This is okay, but it has some drawbacks. For example, the name of the brand could be slightly different in different languages. Also, only having the name doesn't give much information to the user because he needs to find it by itself and find information. An application can't read it and easily find the details about that item. And also, a brand could be multiple brands around the world in different areas could have the same name, so that will introduce some confusion. If besides this tag we add the brand as the tag brand Wikidata, we can reference the Wikidata item that represents the specific brand that we are referring to. This gives more clarity and allows us to fetch all the information about that Wikidata, about that brand from Wikidata, including names in all languages, statistics about various aspects of the brand, etc. Now, how do you edit? Well, of course, it's a tag. You can edit whichever editor you want, but by now, a lot of editors have added support for open to Wikidata. There is an error here, unfortunately. The slides are a bit wrong, but in editors like ID, JOSM with an extension, Map Complete have give the user the option to view the OpenStreetMap element with the name of the label of the which is specified inside the Wikidata entity, besides the QID, making it easier to analyze OpenStreetMap elements, but also allows, when editing, tagging, to search by text elements in Wikidata and automatically use the QID as value for the Wikidata tags. Also, some editors like ID and every door and street complete, etc. Use the name suggestion index to have a list of brands to make it easily searchable by the user, and for each of them automatically get the name and the QID to simplify the addition to OpenStreetMap. Also, there is an editor which is specifically meant to tag Wikidata. It is called OSM Wikidata Matcher. It is extremely powerful in its only objective, which is finding entities which are already present both in OpenStreetMap and in Wikidata, but they are not linked between each other. The OpenStreetMap element doesn't link to Wikidata. Map complete I have already set it in one of the last slides. It allows you to search the by text the Wikidata item and automatically inserts the ID, the QID inside the value of the tag. So once you have added this information through editing, you need to you might want to get this data. You can do that through using one of the, well, of course you can just read the data from a dump in a classical database, but to get the most of it, to use it together with other open data, linked open data sources, you need a tool which is able to work with RDF. Multiple projects have born over the years to do that, but some have since been discontinued. There are two that are still active and thriving. They are called Sophox and Clever. Both of them are structured in a two-component structure with a component that transforms raw OpenStreetMap dumps into RDF datasets. And the other component is a Sparkle query engine, which uses the transformed RDF data to allow the user to execute queries potentially together with other datasets. The main differences, both tools are extremely powerful. Each of them has some advantages and some drawbacks. For example, Sophox has only centroids, not complete geometries, while Clever does have complete geometries and geographic relationships like containment and intersection, etc. But Sophox is better integrated with the OpenStreetMap the OpenStreetMap world by integrating, for example, a support for overpass APIs that can be nested inside the the Sparkle query. Also, in Sophox, in the RDF dump includes metadata of OpenStreetMap elements, not only the element itself, which is not done by Clever. Just to demonstrate the power of this type of combination, I have made an example. Suppose I wanted to know which are the regions outside of Germany where German is the official language. This information is not available only on OpenStreetMap. It's not available not only on Wikidata. To do that, we needed to combine these sources if we need the wanted geometry. To do that, I used a Sparkle query using Clever in this example, which does combine the informations combine the entities of OpenStreetMap and Wikidata and gets filters using Wikidata only the elements where German is the official language, and takes from OpenStreetMap the information about whether it is not is or is not inside Germany and their geometry. I have used language, but imagine how powerful this is if you use other information that is on Wikidata, like statistics about population or some well-being index or many other information that are present on Wikidata. So even if you have never used one of these queries, you probably already have used Wikidata when using OpenStreetMap, because a lot of everyday apps that are based on OpenStreetMap integrate behind the scenes Wikidata. Just to make an example, you might have noticed that on OSM, the application based on OpenStreetMap, some elements are shown with their Wikimedia Commons images, even though on OpenStreetMap they are not tagged with the Wikimedia Commons. Why? Because OSM is capable of finding elements which link to Wikidata, and Wikidata links to Wikimedia Commons, and is able to retrieve the information through this indirect link. Also in if you are you ever use a Wikipedia page which contains a map with geometries from you might have noticed that some of the geometries are taken from OpenStreetMap. This is done using Wikidata, which acts as a bridge between the Wikipedia page and the OpenStreetMap element that are linked to the same element, and allow to understand which are the borders or the shape of the element which is being read. The last project I wanted to talk is a project that I have created. It's called the OSM Wikidata Map Framework. Its objective is to create thematic maps where you configure, well, the person who creates the map configures which secondary Wikidata links he is interested in and which Wikidata properties he is interested in, and automatically this framework creates a map which combines the information and OpenStreetMap from it is possible to use multiple backends. It is possible to combine Overpass API with the Wikidata Query Service. It is possible to use Clever. It is possible to use other backends and show the information. For example, there is an instance which uses OpenStreetMap and Wikidata to show the details about the elements, the items, the entities to which elements on OpenStreetMap are named after. Just in this example, for example, I show what Kenya takes the name from, the Mount Kenya. In another instance, for example, shows all the details about notable people which are buried in some burial place on the map. Other instances show the artists, the details about artists who created artworks on the map, etc. There are many more projects that use explicitly or implicitly Wikidata or other linked data sources. I find it an extremely interesting field to explore. I encourage you to do so, but final warning note, remember that when we are combining data from different sources, we always have to take in consideration their license, because obviously each of them has their peculiarities, and the interaction between licenses might not be obvious. Just to make an example, Wikidata, which we have just talked about, officially is a CC0, so in public domain, but it cannot be, its data cannot be imported in OpenStreetMap because there is some questioning of how Wikidata judges the appropriateness of the data it accepts for CC0. The result is that the data that you get out of a query which combine OpenStreetMap and Wikidata cannot be imported in OpenStreetMap. In general, beyond Wikidata, whichever source you use, remember to check the license and the implications. Thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. You can find on the pre-talks page for this talk the slides, which include all the slides which I skipped about RDF. Thank you.
Well done, Daniele. That was interesting, especially for one like me who is not an expert in the field. I liked it. While we're waiting for questions there is no question at the moment online yet, but while we wait for them, there might be some questions from the audience. Yeah? If you can come here, people can hear you. Please. Yeah, just come, no problem. I'm not gonna call you, just come.
My question is, I'm a strong OpenStreetMap contributor and very small about Wikidata. I already put some codes in some objects, some object I created. I would like to know, when you make the combination of the two sources, what represents Wikidata in terms of, I would say, percentage? Is there a lot of data that are in Wikidata, including geographic ones that are not OpenStreetMap, or it's more, I would say, to improve the OSM data that would represent most of the data, just to have an idea of what the bringing Wikidata into OpenStreetMap will provide for.
I guess you mean which percentage of OpenStreetMap elements is already linked with Wikidata, or how much elements on geographic elements are available on Wikidata?
Or what would be the improvement of the mashup OSM data plus Wikidata versus OSM alone? I mean, what's in what terms is it? I don't know, it can be a percentage or something like that, or it would emphasize the OSM data. I mean, what's the benefit of Wikidata in OpenStreetMap? I don't know.
Okay. Okay, so you mean how much of the data which is available about entities on Wikidata is not available on OpenStreetMap? Well, in my opinion, there is a lot of a huge amount, because I will just open a random country on Wikidata to show you the plethora of details that are available on Wikidata. Wikidata is a general purpose chronology graph which has all kinds of information about stuff. The first thing that comes to my mind about countries, because it's what we've talked about now, is stuff like statistic about the population, but also you can see all the names in all the languages. Now, unfortunately, here it doesn't let me expand all the names, but statistically, all Wikidata, the labels in multiple languages of elements on Wikidata are much more complete than those on OpenStreetMap. Here on Germany, if I expand the list, I guess that we will scroll a lot to see all the languages that are available. Typically they are much more complete than OpenStreetMap, but also like Inception is available on OpenStreetMap, but there are so short name, for example, you can't put the pronunciation of the name in OpenStreetMap. Obviously, you can't talk about ethnic groups in. There isn't a tagging for ethnic groups in OpenStreetMap. Life expectancy, the names of the person who live, the people who live in that country, mottos, flags, all kind of information which in OpenStreetMap is not present. And in my opinion, it's okay that way, because OpenStreetMap is first and foremost a geographic database. It's not a knowledge graph per se, so it's acceptable that it's not on OpenStreetMap. But Wikidata is thought as a generic knowledge graph which contains all kind of data, and there are a huge amount of information which is not available on OpenStreetMap but is available in Wikidata. Yeah, it's possible that it exists. So for people from home, the next question was, so it's not new POIs on OpenStreetMap, only new information. Yeah, it's possible there is some information on Wikidata that is still not present in OpenStreetMap, but in my opinion, that's not the most, the biggest advantage that we can get in the OpenStreetMap world from Wikidata. In my opinion, the amount of information, details about the points of interest and countries and whatever is the true advantages that Wikidata has.
I would like to take the question from online first, because you can still do it in person to him. So we have a question from remote, which is, which strategies do you apply in handling conflicting data, like data mismatch geospatial coordinates, when OSM's crowdsourced information doesn't align with linked data sources, especially for critical use like emergency response? Clear?
Yeah. So that the choice about which geometry or which coordinates to use is up to the person who creates the query or the person who handles the information on in the application that uses this data. In my project, the last that I presented, I give precedence to geometries from OpenStreetMap because it's the most important thing in OpenStreetMap. So I assume it's giving correct information. Also, yeah, typically is definitely more precise on OpenStreetMap. Again, it depends on the user which what to give precedence to.
So thank you for the presentation. Just two quick questions. If you can talk a bit about the performance. I mean, I guess it's of course depend on the size of the databases. I'm curious about how long it would take to do some simple combination for VS, like bigger. And my second question is about if I want to use this, is like a core. Do you have a repository for that, or online website, or yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay. So the for the for the presentation is here. So I will start with the second question. The answer is if you go in the slides, you in the page for the OSM Wikidata Map Framework, you will find a link to OSM Wiki, or you can directly search it on OSM Wiki. There is a page about OSM Wikidata Map Framework with the information of the available presets that can be configured and some information on how to configure it. Plus, there are some contacts, so you can also contact me online. And the first question was, oh yeah, performance. In my project, I launch in parallel the query to Overpass API and Wikidata Query Service using the bounding box, and typically Wikidata is slightly faster in returning. Combining, it's not. It takes a very few time in my experience. If you instead use Clever or Sophox, Clever is faster. If you have normal queries, which doesn't include searching by an arbitrary bounding box, if you do, Clever has some problem and it's much faster using Sophox.
Thank you. Well done. There is one more question from the people from remote, but we don't have time for that. So you can ask Daniele and Vangelis in chat maybe. Okay, thank you very much.